Class rules and lab safety. In this class in biology, you will be taking several lab units or lab activities, so it is vital that you know lab safety rules and class expectations. So, lab safety you will be tested over, and you must have a signed lab safety contract that you will read through, understand all the rules, and that you and your parent or guardian must sign and return before you are allowed to participate in the first lab activity. So please get those back to me ASAP. So lab safety, we're going to go through several general rules kind of quickly here. So make sure you listen to or read the instructions carefully before attempting any sort of lab. Lab safety goggles will be provided if they are needed, and if they are provided for a lab, you must have them on at all times at lab station. Also, please let me know if you have any spills or accidents that occurred during a lab. For most labs, I will have you wash your hands before and after, but it is required that you wash your hands after any lab. You do not want to take any materials from the lab back to your desk or to your next class. During lab, keep your hands away from your face as much as possible so that you are not getting any sort of chemicals or solutions into your eyes, mouth, or ears. Anyone with long hair must have the hair tied back during a lab and while you're at your lab stations. I will provide hair ties if you need those for a lab. If you are wearing long sleeves, please keep those rolled up so that your sleeves do not get into whatever we're working with, whether it be chemicals, lab solutions, or dissection material. Some of the material can stain your clothing, and that will be not fun to get out. Make sure you know the location of the fire extinguisher, which is at the front of the room towards the exit, the door. We do not have a fire blanket, and then eye wash stations that are located in the room. If you ever need to use any of these, please notify your partner or teacher. That way we can help you take care of the emergency situation. Maintain a clean, uncluttered area at your lab station and preferably at your desks too. If we're up moving around about the room and have lab materials out, please keep it clean. Anything you're not using can be put away because they just become tripping hazards or in the way for lab material expansions. Never put anything into your mouth during a lab. Everything that we use is geared towards a lab experiment, so you will need it for your experiment to run properly. Even if we're using food items for a lab, do not eat these. They've either been handled by numerous classes or come into contact or will come into contact with chemicals that are not safe to consume. Make sure that you clean up your lab area after the lab has concluded. Sometimes labs will finish, so like one group will finish before another. Sometimes it runs the entire class period, and I will shut you down at the end of class telling you it's time to clean up. I will always give you plenty of time to clean up. Please do a thorough job of cleaning your area and any of your materials that you use during a lab. Never horse around during a lab. This is just going to increase risk of injuries, and if everyone is following the rules and being precautious, no injuries should occur during a lab. Okay, glassware. We use several types of glassware during different labs. If anything is ever chipped or cracked, please let me know. We are not using those. So I will make sure that we get those disposed of. But check all your glassware before you start your lab. Anything that breaks during class, like during the experiment, please let me know. I will clean that up because I have to dispose of it in a special way. You'll notice on one of the lab benches, I have a container for broken glass, and I will make sure that that glassware gets into that box and get you a new piece of glassware. Pouring liquids into glassware, make sure that you are holding the table and it's sitting on top of you're holding the glassware and it's sitting on top of the table. If it's towards the edge, be careful. Make sure it's sitting way back, that when you pour that liquid in, it's not going to tip over, spill, and break anything. Again, please, I really, really stress, do not try to clean up glassware yourself, even if it's just a broken cover slide. This happens every single year, every single class. It's probably going to happen to you. I just want to make sure that we do not run the risk of you guys getting cut on any sort of glassware that might break. We don't heat a ton of glassware, but please be aware that if you have hot water or hot liquid in glassware, that it takes time to cool, and putting it in ice or other substances that would make it cool rapidly could cause that glassware to shatter. Chemical safety. We use lots of different chemicals. If something is not a household chemical that is safe to use, you will be able to use that at the lab without some PPE, but most of the time when I have chemicals that are hazardous or potentially hazardous, I will provide you with goggles and lab aprons. Those are expected to be worn at all times during labs. Never mix chemicals together unless you are specifically told to. Chemicals have chemical reactions and they can react with certain other substances, and unless you know 100% what that's going to be and I've told you to do that, you should not experiment or test by mixing different chemicals. Do not ever taste any chemicals. In fact, this goes with not putting anything in your mouth. Please do not put any chemicals or solutions in your mouth as well. If you want to smell chemicals, there is a specific method called wafting, where you place your hand over the container and make the air move towards your nose so that you can inhale those fumes. Some of the chemicals we use are very fragrant, not necessarily in a good way, and so you definitely want to waft when using those. Follow the instructions when disposing of chemicals. Most of the time, our chemicals we use can go down the sink, but there are a few exceptions, and I will always make those bold and bright colored during a lab, stressing that they are disposed in a specific way, and I will give those to you for that particular lab. Again, make sure that you wash your hands after a lab, especially if we are handling chemicals. Electrical cords. Make sure that they're not laying in a position where that you can trip, or where somebody walking can trip over an electrical cord. Most of our labs will be done on lab benches, but if you happen to take them back to your table or something like that, please make sure that they are not a tripping hazard. Make sure that your hands are dry when you are messing with electrical equipment, either plugging them in or unplugging them. Electricity and water definitely do not mix. Never poke anything into the electrical outlets. No forks, no utensils, no anything. Only plugging in cords with proper electrical safety measures into those outlets. When you unplug the cords, please make sure you grab a hold of the knob at the end and not just the cord itself. Those cords if they get pulled on, will pull the electrical wiring out, making it short and causing problems for the electrical device. Make sure you also unplug all electrical equipment at the end of the lab. This is really key, especially when we're handling microscopes. Those microscopes will get warm, so please help me to turn off and unplug all electrical equipment at the end of the lab or end of the hour so that the equipment does not overheat. Okay, first aid. If an injury were to happen, please report that immediately. Even if it's just a small paper cut or cut glass cover slide cut, please let me know. I have first aid material. We can take care of that, especially if chemicals are out. I need to know if you have a paper cut or anything like that. I know it sounds minor, but if we're working with chemicals, I want to ensure that that does not get into your bloodstream through that paper cut. General rules here, just make sure that you let me know if you have questions on something in a lab. Do not guess and talk to me first. I'm here to help, and we will do lots of labs, and the main goal is to learn in a safe environment. If you follow these rules, we will stay safe.